Hello and welcome to Web Hack Wednesdays. I am Martin Beebe.
And I'm Martin Kern.
And we're in a new fancy studio
Yeah,
today.
we're very pleased with this, aren't we? It's taken us 2 years to get to a cool studio setup like this.
Although we're going to go back to our old studio because this is only temporary. We have a little bit of lighting equipment and we've got a bit of a bigger space to play with because we're doing Tech Days Online very shortly in this very space.
Yeah.
That's next Wednesday.
Yeah.
But this is Web Hack Wednesday, not Tech Days Online.
No, we've just stolen their studio.
Just stolen their studio a little bit. Well, they've actually stolen our equipment. So it's kind of
the only bad thing is that there won't be any green screen jokes this week because we're not using a green screen.
I don't know if that's a bad thing.
I think that's a
I
bad
don't
thing.
think the viewers.
I think the viewers love that. That's the main reason people watch this show is for our green screen jokes.
Green screening.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
what we're going to learn this week, Martin?
It's a bit of a hack. It's truly taken the word Web Hack Wednesday this week.
Okay.
So. It's a very specific scenario. If you're using Azure to host web applications,
which I am,
which many of us do,
of course,
and many web applications, there's this feature on Azure called Always On, which is where it basically makes sure that the website is always available.
Yes.
If that's not enabled, if the site isn't used for, I don't know what the time period is, but a certain period of time, it effectively goes to sleep.
I think this is IIS actually, other than Azure.
It could be, yeah.
It's running on IIS. I think IIS has a feature in it which kind of says, you know, if the app pool isn't being used,
it sort of suspends it. And what happens then is when the next person that comes to access that site, it takes 20-30 seconds or so to spin up and to be available again.
So it's a problem particularly if you've got a site which is inactively viewed.
Exactly.
Like obviously, my blog is like
it's on all the time. There's people on there. There's hundreds of users per second.
Yeah, it never. My server never thinks. Do you know what? Now it's time for a rest.
Yeah.
It's constantly serving.
Yeah, because servers think that anyway. But I had this problem once. So I was doing a demo of a bot which was hosted.
Was it your blog? Was it?
No. My blog didn't. Yeah, that's just constantly asleep. Nobody ever goes to that. I was doing a demo of a bot in front of 600 people. And the bot was hosted as an Azure app service.
Was this a dream or was this real?
No, this was real.
Right, okay.
Really did talk to 600 people. And in between me practicing it the night before and me going to present it, the app service had fallen asleep. And so in front of 600 people, I'm there on my bot, typing away, and nothing was happening.
Because your bot fundamentally is a web API which sits on
an app service.
Azure app service and it's gone to sleep.
And just as I was about to give up and sort of not do the demo, I realised what was happening. I thought, I've just got to pad it out for another 10 seconds and it'll come back to life, and it did, and it saved the day. But I don't like being in that situation. No. And so I've done a little hack. So the problem with Always On is it relies on the basic subscription for your app service, which is quite expensive. It's £45 a month.
So we have a feature inside of the Azure app service, which is a little tick box. You can click Always On, and it gets around this problem.
It does, yeah. Azure fixes this problem.
Azure problem. So it will make sure that that feature, that it never goes to sleep. It will always be on.
Always be on.
That's a nice feature name.
Yeah.
But that requires you to have a minimum level subscription for your app service, which is
basic. Which is in the UK that's £45 a month.
And you couldn't just.
I didn't want to pay that. No.
Even though you don't actually pay for it, even though it's our boss which pays for it.
Well, the thing is, I've got probably 15, 20 websites that I want to be always on.
And you've got a big budget for.
Well, I have, but I feel like there might be other people that don't have a big budget for Azure and they want to save some money. And so what I've come up with is a genius way of making sure that my website is always on with only one basic app service, not 15. And that's what I'm going to go through today. It's a bit of a hack. It's a bit of a way to save money if you're using Azure.
So if you're on the lower tiers and you want an always-on sort of feature, this is a little hack to get
around it. So let's have a look. So I've got a web app here called Always On Test.
Yep.
And this is currently running in the shared pricing tier, which is the lowest, the first one after free, basically. And it's about £7 a month for the UK data centres. We can go in here and we can see scale up as the app service plan, and we can see the various pricing tiers here. We'll just wait for those to refresh, and we'll see that in a second. I'm on shared at the moment. It's going to cost me £7.21 a month. The basic one, as you can see, is £41, and then it goes up from there. So if I wanted this website to be always on, what I would do is I'd go into application settings, and I would see that there is the always on switch, which is enticingly there, but it's greyed out because this is not a basic app service. It's only on the free tier. So this feature, as it says at the top here, 64-bit and always on options can only be enabled in basic plans and higher. So I can't use it. I've got my only choice is to upgrade the whole app service to basic, and then I can use it. But I don't want to do that, so I'm going to pay my £45 a month.
Yep.
So what I've done is I've used Azure Functions to have something that's running all the time and basically pings these websites. Because all that Switchbox does is it sends a ping to the website every 7 or 8 minutes, and that just keeps it on. Basically, that's all the Switchbox
because
does.
Because your system now thinks that it's busy.
Exactly.
So it won't go to sleep.
Exactly. So I've done a hack. So I've got one of my web applications, which is my personal website, which is on a basics tier. I'll just show you this. The Azure Functions are part of the overall app service, so they're in the same pricing bucket as a general app service. Yep. So I've got my Martin Kern website, and I've got a function that's running as part of that called Always On, which because it's running as the basic one, I can run this. I can keep this is always on by default. And what this one will do is it will get a list of URLs that I want to keep always on, and it will just ping them every 7 or 8 minutes. So it's really easy. If we look at the code,
maybe you could add into this function my blog and up my traffic.
I could. Yeah. Well, there is that. Yeah, it is going to slightly skew your analytics. But all this does is it does a call to my API, which gets a list of URLs.
You could call a URL which isn't.
I could just hard code it.
You could call a URL which isn't on your analytics. Like you don't have to include your analytics on that page.
It could be like a hidden page that is just to keep the website. That's a good idea. Actually, I might do that. But in this case, I've got an API which gives you my list of URLs that I want to keep always on. But don't worry too much about that. Just assume that I've got a list of URLs.
Okay.
And all it does, it's in C#. It just does a basic HTTP client request. And pings the website, gets whatever's on that website. And this runs, if we go to the Integrate tab, we've covered functions a little bit already, so I won't go into too much detail about functions themselves, but one of the ways that functions can run is on a timer.
Right.
And this one runs using the cron expression, which I didn't know what that was until I came to look at this.
I definitely know. They're sort of like a Linux-based time description, which you use for cron jobs.
Yeah. And that it uses that format, and this cron expression means run every 8 minutes.
Right.
So every 8 minutes, it goes to my API, it gets a list of URLs, and it just does a request on each one of those URLs, and that is enough to keep the website on, even if it's on. So one of the websites that I've set this up for, well, actually, before I go to this, I'm just going to show you.
And you could make that smarter as well. You could only run it during.
What are you trying to say?
I mean, you could.
I think
your specific things you're doing it every 8 minutes.
Yeah,
but you could set it like every 8 minutes between 9 and 5.
Yeah, you could.
Like
you totally could. Yeah, but I think I'm going to keep it on. That's
so
what
it also could do every time that you or me is speaking to 600 people. So like once every 4 years.
Yeah. So what I've got here is I'm just going to show you what comes back from my API here. So this is just an API that gives you my URL. So I've got 4 websites. I've got Sentimental Web, which is one that we've used before to showcase hybrid web applications. How Happy? You were wondering when I was going to mention How Happy.
You can't do a demo now.
I can't do a demo without, but that's in there as well. We've got a thing called FlipScript, which I use a lot, and we've got that probably shouldn't be in there because that's GitHub, and GitHub is always on anyway. I don't need to worry too much about that. But so let's take How Happy. That's one of these ones that gets pinged every 8 minutes. If we actually look in my Azure subscription here and find the How Happy app service, there it is there. This is running on a shared pricing tier. I'm only paying the £7 a month for this, but it is always on because my function's pinging it every 8 minutes. And you can actually see the pings coming in there every 8 minutes. And if we just look in here and scale up, we'll see that it's running on the shared tier. So I've got a load of web apps there, all running on the shared tier. I'm paying the minimum price for them, but I'm having the feature of always on because I've done a little hack using functions.
Well done.
I'm very pleased with it.
I can tell.
I've saved literally hundreds of pounds on Azure, and that's it. That's all I wanted to go through.
Thanks very much. So join us next week when we'll be looking at another hack to save money.
Maybe. I mean,
it could become like a money saving
tips on Azure. Yeah.
We'll see you next week.